anticipation leading up to this game? Obviously, everyone knew Jackson State was going to come in and play you all this hard. How do you get the guys ready to kind of shake this loss off and move forward to next week's game?
Well, fortunately, 18 to 23-year-olds, they have short memories. So we'll go back and watch this tape tomorrow and make our corrections, and then we'll move on to Mississippi Valley, who was our next opponent. We have some mistakes that we have to correct in all three phases, and that will take place, like I said, tomorrow. We'll get it fixed, and we'll jump on the road on Friday and go to Mississippi and get ready to play Mississippi Valley.
Coach, what does, compared to maybe 2019, the last full season, what has Deion got them doing better? What are they doing better as a team that might not have been there 2-3 years ago?
I just think it's the focus and the energy. When you have a college football team, we all have athletes, and they do have a dominant defensive line. That's where it starts, and I think they play with a lot of focus. They play with a lot of energy, and you have to match that focus, that energy, and that discipline every play. Because you can see us in spots playing with them, but if you don't focus one play, it can turn into a big play for them. So that's what we have to be better as a team. We have to make sure that we're continuing to focus and continue to be disciplined and not have, it's been 2 weeks in a row. It wasn't as bad today, but we did have, 2 personal fouls that were critical, that took us, out of good field position. And those are things that just can't happen.
Coach, HBCU game day. You mentioned 18 to 23-year-olds. How important is it for you to try to reinstill some normalcy to these kids who've been displaced ever since before Hurricane Ian?
Well, I think it's huge. First and foremost, our hats go off to our administration because they have hung in there with us for the entire time. Like I said, we've been away from home since the 27th of last month. We were in Tennessee for 2 weeks, in Chattanooga for a week, in Nashville for a week, and we've been here for a week. And finding places to lift, finding places to practice, finding places to meet, finding places to eat. It's just something that you have to make sure that you're trying to keep these guys with some sense of normalcy. You have to keep them as close to their comfort zone as possible, because football players all over are creatures of habit. And you tell them, don't worry about things you can't control. But at the end of the day, if I'm not in my weight room, if I'm not in my locker room, if I'm not practicing on my practice field, it's tough. It's tough. But those are not excuses for us not to perform. We're still required and expected to perform. And that's what we will do. We'll get better. We'll go and fix it, and we'll come out and we'll be better next week.
Coach, your pass rush was able to get some pressure back there on Sanders, but not always able to get him on the ground. Were you encouraged by that pressure you were able to get, and what do you do to kind of clean up some of those technical issues that'll help them get the quarterback on the ground in the future?
Well, I can't say I was encouraged, because last year we had the most sacks in the league on it. We sacked him 9 times last year. We just missed tackles today, which is a little bit upsetting to me, because those are plays that we have to have. We know we can get to the quarterback, and we understand how to get to the quarterback. We just have to finish when we get there.
Coach, really quickly, do you think at all bringing your guys here in the stadium, was it intimidating at all? And what did that pep talk sound like going into this week?
No. I mean, a football field is a football field. The players don't really worry about the stadium and the stands. The football field is the same size regardless if it's 15,000 seats or if it's 100,000 seats. We worry about the white lines and what's going on in between the white lines. I'll never use that and say, oh, it was intimidating, because it's a football game. We put the ball down, whether it's on a football field or on the highway. Put the ball down and let's play.
Would you say that as far as where you are right now as a program, you're getting closer to being back to where you were, let's say, pre-COVID, before all of the things that you've had to endure as a football program has come on?
I think we're getting back as close as we can be, depend, you know, if you look at what we've been through. So yeah, we're getting close. We have our numbers back up. We have guys in our program that can make plays. Now we have some guys that we have to get healthy. You know, we had to play today without Desmond Daniels, our starting tackle. He was injured last week. We had our starting corner, Jaquan Jackson. He was out. He was injured in practice this week. So we had a few guys that were out that we didn't play because of health reasons. But we're getting close. We're getting back. One thing about this football team, the resiliency is unmatched. These guys are continuing to play. They're continuing to prepare. And we don't have to worry about practice with them. We don't have to beg them to practice. They show up every day and work. And I think if you continue to do that and you continue to chop the wood, sooner or later, it'll fall our way.
Antonio, with HBCU Red Zone, today we've seen Jalen get beat up numerous times in the backfield. How do you go stepping into next week to Mississippi Valley, telling your O-line to protect your quarterback at all costs?
Well, I think you said it best. They have to protect him at all costs. Again, you know, having to shift some guys around on the offensive line. Offensive line is a tricky position. It's a tricky group because they depend on each other so much. So having to plug and play a little bit with that, it creates sometimes, you know, guys not really being in there, playing with those guys. It helps the defense because our offensive guys, if it was a guard, we may have to move around from left guard to right guard. We had to shift our tackles around a little bit today. So I think with that, you know, that's just on the athlete. And, you know, they have to make sure that they show up and they're ready to go when they're put in there because we're expected to coach, they're expected to play. And that's just the bottom line, you know. In our program, it's next man up.